Commander Trell stared at the flashing red lights on the main control panel. The warning sounds filled the bridge of the massive ship. 17 ships of the Novan exploration fleet now floated helplessly in empty space. All ships had lost power to their main engines at the same time. "Report," Trell said, trying to keep a calm voice. The commander's blue skin seemed to darken with worry. Officer Mika rushed to Trell's side, holding a data pad. "Bad news, Commander. The quantum drives on all ships are failing. We can't make jumps anymore. We're stuck here." Trell looked out the large window at the starfield around them. They had traveled far beyond the known routes. No Novan ship had ever come this far into uncharted space. "How much power do we have left?" Trell asked. "Life support systems are working on backup power. We have food and air for about 3 months," Mika answered. After that, the science officer didn't finish the sentence. There was no need. 4,000 crew members spread across 17 ships were now facing a slow death in the cold emptiness of space. The Novan fleet had been mapping new star systems when they entered a strange area of space that somehow damaged all their quantum drives at once. Trell walked to the center of the bridge. "Call all ship captains to a meeting and prepare our long-range signal device. We need to send out a distress call." One of the bridge crew looked up with sad eyes. "Commander, there's no one to hear us. The nearest Novan outpost is 2 years away at normal speed. Without our quantum drives, we can't get there." "I know," Trell said, "but we still have to try." In a small, dim room filled with humming machines, Lieutenant Jack Rivera sat with his feet up on his desk, working the night shift at Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Station Epsilon. It was usually boring. Most nights, Jack just watched the automatic systems do their job detecting signals from space. He sipped his coffee and looked at the screen showing different parts of space. Earth had only started putting these monitoring stations in far parts of the solar system in the last 10 years. Humans were still new to deep space travel compared to the handful of alien races they had met. Suddenly, one of his screens lit up with an alert. Jack put down his coffee and sat up straight. The computer had found something unusual, a signal pattern it couldn't identify. "That's weird," Jack muttered. He tapped some keys to get more information. The signal was coming from a region of space where no human ships were traveling. It wasn't a known pattern from any of the 3 alien species humans had met before. Jack looked at the signal pattern more carefully. There was something about it, a repeating pattern that reminded him of distress calls. After studying it for a few minutes, he was sure. "This is a cry for help," he said to himself. Jack reached for the communication button. "This is Lieutenant Rivera at Station Epsilon. I need to speak to Dr. Bell immediately. We've picked up what looks like a distress signal from an unknown source." Dr. Amara Bell had been sleeping when the call came. Now she stood in the station's main control room, looking at the signal data Jack had found. "You were right to call me," she said. "This is definitely a distress signal, and it's not from any species we know." "What do we do?" Jack asked. Dr. Bell thought for a moment. "We need to tell Earth Command right away. This could be first contact with a new alien species." Within hours, the signal had been sent to Earth. The highest-ranking officials in the Unified Space Command gathered in an emergency meeting in Geneva. Admiral Huang, the head of all Earth space operations, stood before the assembled leaders. His face was serious as he explained the situation. "The signal comes from a location about 3 weeks away at our fastest speed. Our best analysis suggests it's from a group of ships in distress. We don't know who they are or what kind of help they need, but they're definitely calling for help." A woman in a gray suit spoke up. "Admiral, we should be careful. This could be a trap. We know very little about what's out there." The Admiral nodded. "That's true, Director Chen. But consider this, if we ignore a genuine cry for help, what does that say about us? About humanity?" The room grew quiet as everyone thought about this question. "We have a chance here," the Admiral continued. "A chance to show who we are as a species. Yes, there's risk, but I believe the greater risk is turning our backs on someone who needs our help, whoever they are." One by one, the leaders voted. The decision was made. Earth would respond to the distress call. Back on the Novan command ship, the mood had grown dark. 2 weeks had passed since they sent out their distress signal. No one really expected an answer. Trell sat alone in the commander's quarters, looking at pictures of family members who were waiting back home. The thought of never seeing them again was hard to accept. A sudden knock on the door interrupted these sad thoughts. "Come in," Trell called. Officer Mika rushed in, breathing hard. "Commander, you need to come to the bridge right now." "What is it?" Trell asked, standing up quickly. Mika's face showed excitement. "We're getting a response to our distress signal." Trell followed Mika to the bridge at a run. The main screen showed a signal pattern they had never seen before. "Where is it coming from?" Trell asked. The communications officer pointed to a star map. "From this direction, Commander. And it's getting stronger. Whatever sent it is coming toward us." "Can we translate it?" Trell asked. "We're trying," the officer said. "It doesn't match any language in our database." Hours passed as the Novan computers worked to decode the strange message. Finally, the translation system began to make sense of it. "This is Captain Morgan Reed of the Earth vessel Horizon. We have received your distress signal and are coming to offer assistance. Please respond if you can hear this message." The bridge crew looked at each other in shock. "Earth? What is Earth?" one of them asked. Trell moved closer to the screen. "It seems we're about to find out." On the bridge of the Horizon, Captain Morgan Reed waited anxiously for a response. Behind her ship, 5 more human vessels followed. They carried engineers, scientists, medical staff, and supplies, everything they could think of to help an unknown species in trouble. "Do you think they understood us?" asked her first officer, Alex. "I hope so," Morgan said. "We've been broadcasting in every format we could think of." The communications officer suddenly sat up straight. "Captain, we're getting a response." The bridge crew fell silent as a strange voice came through the speakers. The words were oddly accented but understandable. "This is Commander Trell of the Novan Exploration Fleet. We are 17 vessels with 4,000 crew members. Our quantum drives have failed, and we are stranded. We did not expect anyone to hear our call." Captain Reed smiled and pressed the response button. "Well, Commander Trell, today is your lucky day. Humanity is here to help." As the Horizon moved closer to the massive alien ships ahead, neither the humans nor the Novan knew they were about to start a friendship that would change the future of both their worlds forever. Captain Morgan Reed stood on the bridge of the Horizon, watching the massive alien ships through the main view screen. The Novan vessels were huge compared to the human ships, each one at least 3 times larger than the Horizon. Their hulls were smooth and silver with strange blue lights running along their sides. "They're beautiful," whispered Alex, the first officer. Morgan nodded. "And in trouble. Let's prepare the shuttle for meeting. We need to follow first contact protocols." After talking with Commander Trell through simple messages, both sides had agreed to meet in the space between their fleets. The humans would send a small team on a shuttle, and the Novans would do the same. "Who's going?" Alex asked. "Me," Morgan said firmly. "And Alan Park from the first contact team, he's our best language specialist, and Dr. Lewis for medical assessment." Alex looked worried. "Captain, maybe you should stay on the ship." "We don't." "No," Morgan cut him off with a raised hand. "This is too important. Our mission is peaceful, and I need to show them that by being there myself." An hour later, Morgan sat in the small shuttle as it moved away from the Horizon. Through the window, she could see another shuttle leaving one of the Novan ships. Both small vessels moved slowly toward a point in empty space between the fleets. Alan Park sat beside her, looking excited. "This is history, Captain. The first meeting with a completely new alien species." Dr. Lewis was checking medical equipment. "I hope our biology isn't too different. It would be good to understand their basic needs." The shuttle reached the meeting point and stopped. The Novan shuttle was getting closer now. They could see it clearly. It was shaped differently from human shuttles, more like a smooth water drop. "Nervous?" Alan asked. Morgan took a deep breath. "A little, but mostly curious." The Novan shuttle stopped about 30 meters away. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a door opened on the side of the alien vessel. The humans watched as three figures in strange suits floated out and used small jets on their backs to move toward the human shuttle. "They're coming to us," Dr. Lewis said. "That's a good sign," Morgan stood up. "Let's meet them properly." She moved to the airlock and pressed the button to open the outer door. Commander Trell looked at the human ship through the shuttle window. It was smaller than expected, but Trell could see it was well built. These humans might not have the advanced technology of the Novans, but they clearly knew how to build good ships. "Are you sure about this?" asked Mika, who had insisted on coming along. "We need their help," Trell answered simply. And they came a long way to offer it. The third member of their team, Medical Officer Ren, was checking the translation devices they would use. "The language program has been updated with what we've learned from their messages. It should work better now." When their shuttle stopped near the human vessel, Trell made a decision. "We'll go to them. It shows trust." The three Novan put on their space suits and moved through the vacuum toward the human shuttle. As they got closer, Trell could see figures watching from the windows. Then a door opened in the side of the shuttle. A human in a white space suit floated in the doorway and raised a hand in what seemed like a greeting. Trell copied the gesture. Morgan watched as the three aliens moved gracefully toward the shuttle. Their space suits were unlike human ones, thinner and more flexible. Through the clear helmets, she could see their faces. They looked almost human but with key differences. Their skin seemed to glow slightly blue, and their eyes were larger with no visible whites. When the lead alien raised a hand in response to her greeting, Morgan felt a wave of relief. Some gestures, it seemed, might be universal. She spoke into her helmet mic, "Welcome. Please come inside. We have a small room where we can talk." The translation system in her helmet converted her words and sent them to the alien suits. There was a pause, then the lead alien nodded and moved forward. Once all three aliens were inside and the airlock was closed, they removed their helmets. Morgan did the same, along with Alan and Dr. Lewis. Up close, the differences were more noticeable. The alien's skin had a slight shimmer to it, changing color slightly as they moved. They had no hair, and their ears were smaller than human ones, but they had 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth much like humans. "I am Captain Morgan Reed of the Earthship Horizon," Morgan said, touching her chest. The translation device on the table between them hummed, then spoke in a flat voice. The lead alien stepped forward. "I am Commander Trell of the Novan Exploration Fleet." Trell's voice sounded musical with strange tones that the translation device couldn't fully capture. Trell introduced the others, Science Officer Mika and Medical Officer Ren. Morgan did the same with her team. "Please tell us what happened to your fleet," Morgan said once the introductions were done. Trell explained about the strange space anomaly that had damaged all their quantum drives. As Trell spoke, Mika showed 3D models on a small device, helping the humans understand the problem. Alan leaned forward, fascinated. "Your technology is far more advanced than ours. We don't have quantum drives yet." Trell looked surprised. "Then how did you reach us so quickly?" "We have fusion drives," Morgan explained. "They're slower than what you describe, but they got us here." Mika seemed confused. "But if your technology is less advanced, how do you think you can help us?" Alan smiled. "Sometimes a fresh perspective helps. And sometimes simpler technology can solve complex problems." The meeting lasted for 3 hours. By the end, both teams were speaking more freely, the translation devices working better as they learned more of each other's languages. Dr. Lewis and Ren had exchanged basic medical information, discovering surprising similarities in their biology despite their different appearances. Both species needed oxygen, though the Novans could tolerate higher carbon dioxide levels. "We would like to bring a larger team to examine your ships," Morgan suggested. "Engineers who might be able to help with your drive problems." Trell seemed hesitant. "Your offer is generous, but I must be careful with my people's safety." Morgan nodded. "I understand completely. You don't know us yet. What if we start with just information exchange? We can share what we know, and you can tell us more about your drives. Maybe together we can find a solution." Trell's skin shifted to a lighter blue, a reaction the humans didn't yet understand. "That seems reasonable." As they prepared to return to their ships, Trell stopped Morgan with a light touch on her arm. There is something I don't understand, the Nuven commander said. Why did you come? We are strangers to you. Our civilizations have never met before. Morgan thought for a moment. When we heard your call for help, we had a choice. We could ignore it, or we could answer. That's not really a choice at all. If someone needs help and you can give it, you help. That's what makes us, well, human. Trell was quiet for a moment. Perhaps that is what makes us people, whether human or Novan. For the first time since the meeting began, Morgan felt truly hopeful. Different as they were, there might be something fundamental that connected them after all. As the shuttle carried Morgan and her team back to the horizon, she stared out at the massive Novan fleet. This was just the beginning of what promised to be an extraordinary adventure. Within a week of first contact, more human ships arrived. The Earth government had sent everything they could: engineers, scientists, supplies, and raw materials. Captain Morgan Reed watched from the bridge of the horizon as the new ships approached the Novan fleet. 5 more ships, Alex said, standing beside her. Command really sent everything we asked for. Morgan nodded. This is the biggest thing to happen to humanity since we discovered we weren't alone in the universe. Working with the Nuven had been challenging but rewarding. After the first meeting, Commander Trell had allowed small human teams to visit the Nuven ships. In return, Nuven specialists had come to the human vessels to learn about Earth technology. The shuttle is ready to take you to the command ship, Alex said. The joint team is waiting. The large meeting room on the Nuven command ship was filled with both humans and Nuven. The walls displayed technical diagrams and data screens. At the center of the room, a hologram showed the strange particles that had damaged the Novan quantum drives. Morgan entered the room alongside Commander Trell. They had spent much time together over the past week, building trust between their people. Let's hear the latest update, Trell said, skin shifting to a formal green color that humans had learned meant serious business. Raj Patel, the lead human engineer, stood up. He was a small man with quick hands and a brilliant mind. We've been studying the quantum drive components with the Nuven engineers. Their technology is amazing, at least 40 years ahead of anything we have on Earth. Mika, the Nuven science officer, joined him. The human approach to problems is different from ours. They think in ways we do not. Raj smiled at this. The Novans build perfect systems. Every part works in harmony with every other part. It's beautiful engineering, but when one thing goes wrong, everything fails. Mika finished, our systems are too connected. When the strange particles affected one part of the drive, the damage spread everywhere. And that's where our less advanced technology might actually help, Raj explained. Human systems are more, well, messy. We build with backups and workarounds. We expect things to fail sometimes. Trell looked at Morgan. Your engineer is saying that human technology is better because it is worse. Morgan laughed. Not exactly. Just different. We had to solve problems differently because we don't have your advanced materials. In theory, Raj turned to the hologram display, we think we can help shield your quantum drives from the strange particles using a special metal alloy we developed for our deep space probes. It's not as elegant as your technology, but it might work. How long will it take? Trell asked. That's the hard part, Raj admitted. We need to rebuild key components of all 17 ships. With both our teams working together, maybe 2 months. The room grew quiet. The Novans only had enough supplies for 3 months when they first sent their distress call. 1 month had already passed. Then we have no time to waste, Trell said firmly. The work began immediately. Human engineers and Nuven technicians worked side by side in the engine rooms of the massive alien ships. At first, communication was difficult. The translation devices helped with words, but technical concepts were harder to explain. Slowly, they began to understand each other better. The humans were amazed by the Novan technology, quantum computers that could process information faster than anything on Earth, materials that could change their properties on command, and energy systems that were incredibly efficient. The Nuven were equally impressed by human creativity. Where Nuven engineers might spend days looking for a perfect solution, humans would try quick fixes and improvise with whatever was available. You adapt so quickly, Mika told Raj as they worked on a drive component. Our education system teaches us to follow established patterns. Yours seems to encourage what do you call it? Thinking outside the box, Raj said with a smile. It's a human saying. It means looking for answers in unexpected places. As the days passed, more than technology was exchanged. The human crews organized shared meals with the Novans, introducing them to Earth foods and trying Novan dishes in return. Some foods were impossible for the other species to eat, but many were enjoyable to both. Music was shared too. Novan music used tones that human ears could barely hear, but the patterns were beautiful. Human music seemed primitive but emotionally powerful to the Novan. Your music makes my skin change color without my control, one Novan told a human musician after hearing classical Earth music for the first time. Not everything went smoothly. A group of Novans remained suspicious of the humans and their motives. Why would they help us for nothing in return? Asked Vin, a senior Novan officer, during a private meeting with Trell. No species does this. Perhaps humans are different, Trell suggested. Or perhaps they want our technology, Vin countered. They learn our systems while pretending to help. Trell's skin darkened with concern. I've spent time with Captain Reed. I believe their intentions are good. You are too trusting, Commander, Vin said. Similar concerns existed among some humans. Captain Reed overheard two engineers talking when they thought no one was listening. Should we really be helping them rebuild their ships? One asked. What if they turn against us once they're fixed? Or what if they share what they learn about us with other alien species? The other added. We could be putting Earth at risk. Morgan approached them. Those are fair concerns, she said, making them jump in surprise. But think about it this way, they already have far better technology than we do. If they wanted to harm us, they could have done it already. The engineers looked embarrassed. Sorry, Captain. It's just that they're different, Morgan finished for them. I know. But in the ways that matter, I think we're very similar. 2 weeks into the collaboration, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Tom Garcia was not a scientist or an engineer. He was a mechanic who worked on the Horizon's shuttle engines. He had volunteered to help with basic tasks on the Novan ships. While watching Novan engineers discuss a problem with the shield design, Tom had an idea. He sketched it quickly on his tablet and showed it to Raj. The Novans are trying to create a perfect shield, Tom explained. But what if we make an imperfect one on purpose? Something that can flex and adapt when those strange particles hit it. Raj studied the rough drawing. This might actually work. It's completely against Novan design philosophy, but that's exactly why they haven't thought of it. That evening, Raj presented Tom's idea to the joint team. The Novan engineers were confused at first. It went against everything they had been taught about proper design. It's intentionally flawed, one Novan engineer said, skin turning purple with confusion. Exactly, Raj agreed. It's meant to bend, not break. To absorb the particles rather than block them perfectly. Commander Trell looked at the design, then at the human mechanic who had created it. Will it work? Mika, who had been studying the plan, answered, it is strange, but the math supports it. I think it might. For the first time since the crisis began, real hope spread through the Novan fleet. The humans hadn't just brought help, they had brought a completely new way of solving problems. That night, as Morgan prepared to return to her ship, Trell stopped her. Your people continue to surprise us, the Novan commander said. This solution, it would never have occurred to any Novan. Morgan smiled. That's the value of different perspectives. Together, we're stronger than either of us alone. As she flew back to the horizon in the small shuttle, Morgan looked out at the stars. Two species from different worlds, working together to overcome a crisis. It was exactly what she had joined Earth's space fleet hoping to find, not just new worlds but new friends. The new shield design created by Tom Garcia changed everything. For 3 weeks, human and Novan teams worked day and night to build a prototype. The work was difficult, combining two very different types of technology, but everyone understood what was at stake. Morgan watched from an observation room as the final test began on the first repaired drive. Raj and Mika stood in the engine room below, surrounded by both human and Novan engineers. The tension in the air was almost visible. Start the power-up sequence, Raj said into his communicator. Inside the massive engine room, lights began to flicker on. The quantum drive core, a beautiful blue sphere suspended in the center of the room, started to glow softly. Power at 10%, reported a Nuven technician. All readings normal. Mika's skin rippled with nervous yellow patterns. Increased to 20%. The blue sphere grew brighter. The human-designed shield around it, an ugly, bulky ring of special metals, seemed to pulse slightly. 30%, Raj called out. How are the shield readings? A human engineer checked her tablet. Shield is holding. No sign of particle damage. The power levels continued to climb. 50%. 70%. At each stage, the team checked readings and looked for signs of the strange particles that had caused the original failure. 90%, Mika announced, voice tight with tension. Morgan held her breath. This was the moment of truth. If the shield could protect the drive at full power, they had a real solution. Full power, Raj ordered. The quantum drive core blazed with brilliant blue light. The shield around it glowed red at points where particles struck it, but it held strong. For 10 seconds, everyone was silent, watching the readings. Then 20 seconds. At 30 seconds, Raj looked up at the observation window and gave a thumbs-up sign. It's working, he shouted, his voice filled with excitement. The room erupted in cheers. Humans high-fived each other while Nuvens touched palms in their own celebration gesture. Morgan saw Mika's skin turn a bright, happy orange, a color she had never seen on any Nuven before. The success of the prototype meant that their plan could work, but they still faced an enormous task. 17 massive ships needed their quantum drives rebuilt with the new shield design. Each ship had multiple drives, and each drive needed the special human-made shield. Commander Trell called a meeting of all ship captains and project leaders. We have a working solution, Trell announced. But we need to work faster. At our current pace, it will take 4 months to repair all ships, and we have less than 2 months of supplies left, added a Novan captain. Morgan stepped forward. We've contacted Earth. More ships are coming with food and materials, but Commander Trell is right. We need to speed up the work. Raj had been thinking about this problem. What if we don't fix all the ships at once? What if we focus on getting one ship working first? Then it could take some of your people to the nearest safe location and come back for more. The Novans looked at each other. The idea of separating their fleet went against their protocols. It's too risky, said Captain Vin, who still didn't fully trust the humans. What if the drive fails again while the ship is far from help? We could send a human ship alongside it, Morgan suggested, for backup. Trell considered this. The nearest safe location is a small trading outpost about 1 week's travel by quantum jump. If we repaired the smallest ship first, it could take 200 crew there and return. With your permission, Raj said, we could start work on that ship immediately. We already have enough shield material ready. Trell's skin shifted through several colors as the commander thought. Very well. We will adapt to the situation. The next day, teams moved to the smallest Novan ship. The human engineers had gotten better at working with Nuven technology, and the Nuven technicians had learned to accept the strange human approaches. Tom Garcia, whose idea had made everything possible, worked alongside Vex, a young Nuven engineer who had been the quickest to embrace human methods. This connection here, Tom explained, showing a joint where human metal met Novan materials. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be strong enough to flex when those particles hit it. Vex nodded, understanding. Now, like a tree branch in the wind, not like a stone wall that can break. Exactly, Tom smiled. You're getting it. Vex's skin turned a thoughtful blue. On my world, we are taught that perfection is the highest goal. But watching you humans work, I wonder if adapting is more important than being perfect. Tom shrugged as he tightened a bolt. Where I grew up, we had a saying, perfect is the enemy of good enough. Sometimes trying to make something perfect stops you from making something that works. Meanwhile, Morgan and Trell had another challenge. Food supplies were running low on the Nuven ships. The humans had brought as much as they could, but not all of it was safe for Nuven to eat. Diana Chen, the human medical officer, worked with Ren, her Nuven counterpart, to test which Earth foods the Nuven could digest. This fruit should be safe, Diana said, showing a container of apples. It has similar sugars to your food. Ren used a small device to skin the apple. The skin might cause mild digestive discomfort, but the inside appears compatible. They found that many basic earth foods, rice, certain vegetables, and some fruits, could help extend the Nuven supplies. It wasn't ideal, but it would buy them more time. 2 weeks of intense work went by. The small Nuven ship's drives were nearly ready. The human Nuven teams had worked around the clock, with engineers often sleeping near their workstations. Final power test today, Raj told Morgan as they ate a quick breakfast. His eyes were red from lack of sleep. If all goes well, the ship can make its first jump tomorrow. Morgan put a hand on his shoulder. You've done amazing work, Raj. All of you have. Later that day, the entire command team gathered on the bridge of the small Novan ship. Captain Vin would pilot the vessel on its test flight, with a mixed crew of Novans and humans. Begin final power sequence, Vin ordered. The ship hummed as the quantum drives powered up. On the main screen, they could see the status of each drive system. One by one, they turned green. All drives at full power, reported a Nuven officer. Shield systems holding. Vin looked at Trell, who nodded approval. Take us out slowly. For the first time in nearly 2 months, a Nuven ship moved under its own power. It glided away from the rest of the fleet, its engines glowing blue against the darkness of space. Prepare for short-range quantum jump, Vin said. Target is 5,000 kilometers ahead. Everyone held their breath. This was the real test. The ship had to do more than power up, it had to actually jump through space. Jump in 3, 2, 1. Vin pressed the control. The ship shimmered for a moment, then vanished. On the command ship screen, it reappeared instantly at the target location. After a moment of stunned silence, cheers erupted across the fleet. Humans and Novans celebrated together, the barriers between their species seeming to fade away in that moment of triumph. The small ship returned at normal speed, moving back to its place in the fleet formation. When Captain Vin returned to the command ship, even the usually serious officer was smiling. The jump was perfect, Vin reported. Smoother than before, actually. The human shield seems to stabilize the quantum field. Commander Trell looked at Morgan. It seems our impossible problem had a solution after all. We just needed, what do you call it? Outside the box thinking. Morgan smiled. Tomorrow, the ship can make its first long jump to the trading outpost. We'll have a human vessel follow at fusion speed as backup. Trell's skin turned a warm purple color. Captain Reed. Morgan. I don't know if my people can ever repay yours for what you've done. Morgan shook her head. That's not how friendship works, Commander. You don't keep score. 3 months after the humans first arrived, the work was nearly complete. 12 of the 17 Nuven ships now had working quantum drives with the special human shields. The smaller ships had been fixed first, making trips to the nearby trading outpost to bring back supplies and spread the word that the Nuven fleet was safe. The morning of the final repair on the command ship, Morgan stood with Trell on the observation deck. Through the large window, they could see the stars and the human fleet nearby. When we leave here, Trell said quietly, everything will change for both our peoples. Morgan nodded. I think it already has. The journey had not been easy. There had been technical problems, food shortages, and cultural misunderstandings, but they had overcome each challenge together. Now, as the work neared its end, both humans and Novans were thinking about what would come next. My government has sent a message, Morgan said. They want to establish formal relations with your people. Trade, cultural exchange, scientific cooperation, everything. Trell's skin rippled with thoughtful blue patterns. Our High Council says the same. They were surprised by what happened here. Novans have met other species before but never found such willing helpers. What will you tell them about us? Morgan asked. Trell turned to face her. The truth. That humans are strange, unpredictable, sometimes messy, and the best allies we could hope for. Later that day, the final tests began on the command ship's quantum drives. This was the largest ship in the fleet and the most complex to repair. Raj and his team had worked for 2 weeks on the massive engine room. Start power sequence, ordered Chief Engineer Lauren, the Nuven in charge of the ship's engines. The enormous quantum core began to glow. Unlike the other ships, the command vessel had 5 cores, all of which needed to work together perfectly. Power at 20%, reported a human technician. Shield readings stable. Raj watched the readings carefully. They had modified the shield design for the larger cores, making it more flexible. The design had been a true collaboration, Novan precision with human adaptability. 50% power, Lauren called. All systems nominal. Mika stood beside Raj, monitoring the data. The particle levels are higher here than on the other ships, she observed. The shield is working harder. It can handle it, Raj said with confidence. That's what it was designed to do. The power level continued to rise. 80%. 90%. As they approached full power, Lauren looked at Raj. Your shield design has saved our fleet, the Novan engineer said. Our people will not forget this. It wasn't just my design, Raj corrected him. It was Tom's idea and your team's expertise. We did it together. Full power, announced a technician. The 5 quantum cores blazed with bright blue light. The shields around them glowed at points where the strange particles struck them, but they held firm. All systems at full capacity, Mika reported, her skin turning bright orange with joy. The command ship is ready. That evening, a celebration was held in the command ship's great hall. Humans and Novans gathered together, sharing food, drink, and stories. For many, this would be their last night together before the fleets parted ways. Captain Vin, who had once been so suspicious of the humans, now moved easily among them, even trying some Earth foods. Tom and Vex sat together, already making plans for future engineering collaborations. Commander Trell called for silence, then addressed the gathered crews. When we sent our distress call, we had little hope of rescue. Our fleet was far from home in uncharted space. Then humanity answered. You came without knowing us, without any obligation to help. You shared your knowledge, your resources, and your friendship. Trell's skin turned a formal deep purple. Today, I am honored to announce that the Novan High Council has approved the creation of a formal alliance with Earth. Our peoples will share knowledge, trade, and exploration. The humans have earned our trust and our gratitude. Morgan stepped forward when Trell gestured to her. On behalf of Earth, I accept this alliance with great hope for our future together. What began as a rescue mission has become something much more important, the beginning of a lasting friendship between our worlds. The hall erupted in cheers. For many of the crew members, the past 3 months had changed their view of the universe. They had learned that different species could work together, could trust each other, could become friends. Early the next morning, final preparations began for the fleets to depart. The Novan ships would return to their home territories, while most of the human vessels would head back to Earth. But something had changed in the plans. Morgan found Trell on the bridge of the command ship. I've just received new orders from Earth Command, she said. The Horizon will accompany your fleet to the Novan border as a goodwill gesture, and they're sending an ambassador with us. Trell looked pleased. The High Council is sending representatives to meet us as well. They're eager to formalize our new alliance. There's more, Morgan added. Earth is offering scholarships for young Novan to study at our universities, and they're asking if Novan teachers would consider visiting Earth to share your knowledge. Our council has made a similar offer, Trell replied. They would welcome human students and teachers. As they spoke, the final loading operations were underway. Human and Novan crews exchanged small gifts, personal items to remember each other by. Many had formed close friendships during their time together. Diana, the human medical officer, gave Ren a collection of Earth medical texts. In return, the Novan doctor presented her with a small device that could analyze biological compounds, technology that would advance human medicine by years. Tom gave Vex his personal toolkit, simple mechanical tools that the Novan engineer had come to appreciate. Vex pressed a small crystal into Tom's hand in return. What is it? Tom asked, holding up the glowing blue crystal. A memory stone, Vex explained. It records experiences. This one holds our work together so you will not forget. I could never forget this, Tom said softly, carefully placing the crystal in his pocket. On the bridge of the Horizon, Captain Morgan Reed watched through the viewscreen as the Novan fleet's quantum drives powered up. The massive ships glowed with blue energy, their human-designed shields glinting in the starlight. Captain, her communications officer called, "Commander Trell is hailing us." "Put it through," Morgan said. Trell's face appeared on the screen, the commander's blue skin now carrying a warm purple glow. "Captain Reed, we are ready to depart. The horizon will follow us." Morgan nodded. "All the way to your border." "And this is just the beginning, Commander." "Indeed," Trell agreed. "Our peoples have much to learn from each other." As the first Novan ships began to move, their quantum drives creating shimmering distortions in space, Morgan thought about the journey they had shared. What had started as a simple response to a distress call had become the most important diplomatic mission in human history. Two civilizations that might never have met, now bound together by a shared experience of cooperation and friendship. It was exactly what the stars had always promised, not just new worlds to explore, but new hands to grasp in friendship across the void. "Prepare to follow the Novan fleet," Morgan ordered, settling into her captain's chair. "Let's see where this journey takes us next." As the Horizon's engines hummed to life, Morgan knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, humans and Novans would face them together. And that made all the difference in the universe.